What's going on, everyone? You all have been loving the tier list lately, so we're back with another one, and this time we are going through the accessories. And similar to rings, there are not as many of them, which means we've removed a tier. You could basically consider C tier as the ones that I would recommend not investing into. That said, the B tier ones, these are the ones that going to be maybe a little bit niche, specific towards certain builds or super high investment. A tier, solid, but maybe a little bit too high of investment, or just overall end game options, but maybe not like the absolute best. S tier, these are going to be the must-haves. These are going to be the ones that you might want double of. They are going to be absolutely important for your overall progression. That said, let's dive straight into it with the non-S rank accessories, starting us off. All right, so for the first two, I'm actually going to combine the two here because I honestly don't even want to waste any time on these two. They are both C tier. We've got the Vitality Stone and the Frostwind Horn, both non-S rank accessories. And I know, maybe it's a shame I don't get to talk about these ones too much because I'm combining them all. The non-S rank accessories do not have the 5 bonuses that the S rank ones do. The S ranks are going to all give you 10% global HP and 25% global HP. Non-S ranks are just going to give you the 10% global HP. The Vitality Stone is going to make it so that basic attacks restore a little bit extra HP, 10% of lost HP. And then the legendary effect is going to give you a little bit extra, 5% extra. And then the mythic bonus is going to give you 10% extra. So totally 25% of your lost HP. It's a chance to restore a portion of your lost HP, which means you hopefully hopefully don't even have to be in that spot in the first place, especially if you're running things like the Guardian Ring to give you shields or CCing with some other effects. This is just a very, very weak effect. The Frostwind Horn is going to give you plus 30% damage to frozen or stunned enemies. And then the legendary bonus is going to go up to 40%. And then the mythic bonus is going to be damage plus 60%. So basically just extra damage against frozen or stunned enemies. This one isn't nearly as powerful as some of the other effects because it's a little bit of a damage increase, but it only applies to CC targets. And there are just so many other accessories that either actually do the CCing or ramp your damage way higher. So there's not even a reason to consider the Frostwind Horn in the first place. So those two immediate C tiers. I would never invest in the Frostwind Horn or the Vitality Stone whatsoever for my piece of gear. They're not even worth it for progression purposes because we have another one that would be great for progression purposes and is a late game viable option in the non-S rank category. And that is the Icy Bubble. This is an S tier one, guys. This is a late game viable non-S rank piece of gear. This accessory is super easy to acquire. It's going to be massive for your progression, and its effect is absolutely stunning. So its epic bonus is going to give your basic attacks a chance to trigger the Icy Spikes. The legendary bonus is just going to increase those chances, and the mythic bonus is actually going to make the Icy Spike trigger twice. So what makes this so powerful? Well, the Icy Bubble is going to give you the option of really increasing your CC potential and also just adding a little bit of damage onto everything. But the CC potential is really where it gets really nice. The ability of all your basic attacks have the chance to trigger this means that all the times you're attacking with combo also help it out. And this is just going to be amazing to help you push really late game stages where CC is basically necessary to even progress in the first place because you're getting one shot. Icy Bubble is absolutely fantastic. And honestly, Icy Bubble is so good that I would even recommend going double Icy Bubble in the early to mid game when you're still working on some of your S rank gear. Maybe only have 1 or 2 copies of a certain S rank piece of accessory, like some of these ones down here, Proof of Glory, Bloody Grail, or the Reckoning Badge. You could just go double Icy Bubble, and that's still going to be viable for you to progress. It's actually going to be really solid for you to progress. And this one, Icy Bubble, is just going to be an amazing option. Do not get rid of these. Absolutely take it to Mythic as one of the first pieces of gear that you take to Mythic generally. All right, moving on to the S rank accessories. I know that was really quick already because the non-S ranks are pretty straightforward in this category, but S rank pieces of gear, as I've said in previous videos, really going to factor in the banners that they're on. Now, what's interesting about the accessories in particular is that each one of them is only on a singular banner. And so they are oftentimes the defining aspect as to what banner you want to summon on. But that said, that also means that there's rings, there's weapons. What are you getting on that banner alongside them that makes them appealing, similar to other, well, banner choices? First off, Proof of Glory. So this one is not horrible. Proof of Glory is basic, or the rare bonus is going to give you basic attacks initially deal true damage equal to 5% of your current HP, up to 10 times attack damage. Legendary bonus is going to give extra tier damage equal to 10%, and the mythic bonus is going to be damage reduction plus 25%. So honestly, the rare and legendary bonuses don't do anything. Oh, and by the way, each one of these are going to give you a 10% HP bonus and 25% HP bonus respectively. But the Proof of Glory, the basic attack effects basically don't do anything. It's really all about the mythic bonus. The extra damage reduction can do some really, really good work in specific spots. That said, it's on a pretty weak banner. The ring that you have on that banner is Shadow Ring, and so this is only in niche spots, and most builds aren't really looking for Proof of Glory, and so its banner is pretty bad in general. It does have the Sky Splitter on it, but for the most part, I'm really not looking for this. The really, really, really important one is the damage reduction. And so if you're looking for damage reduction, it can be a totally fine option. And for that reason, I got to put it in the B tier. It's nothing too exciting, and most end game builds aren't looking for this. But if you are looking for more damage reduction, you can swap into this and get that value out of it. It's just that in the very, very, very late game, you're usually looking for something a little bit more powerful and to deal a little bit more damage. Moving on to the absolute best accessory in the entire game. What is the Bloody Grail actually offering you? So the rare bonus is to inflict vulnerability, and crits against vulnerable targets are going to deal 40% extra damage. The legendary bonus is damage plus 60% after a crit to a vulnerable target. And then the mythic bonus is just a flat 25% increased damage. So you're getting the 60% increased against, well, vulnerable targets, which you've crit against, and then you get that nice 25% damage bonus in its entirety. Guys, this is so powerful that most builds just recommend you go for double Bloody Grail in the very, very end game. That's how powerful the Bloody Grail is. It's so powerful that most builds are like, hey guys, well, most progression guides are like, we got to start summoning on this banner just for the Bloody Grail, because your late game build is going to absolutely need it. This is the highest damage potential, generally speaking, for any build. It is Bloody Grail and oftentimes double Bloody Grail. But the combination of the two, Bloody Grail and Icy Bubble, is going to get you really far in the game. And if you are looking for more survivability / CC, that's where the Icy Bubble comes in, or maybe some other S rank accessories. But no matter what, you're using a Bloody Grail. And every single build, it is non-negotiable for the most part, unless, you know, you really messed up your summoning. But every single build wants Bloody Grail, so you just got to run it, and that makes it just a necessary banner. So this one's interesting in that the other ones you can kind of talk about, okay, well, you get this here, makes it a little bit more valuable. Bloody Grail is just necessary, so you got to summon on the banner, period. That said, you do get Judgment Ring alongside it, which is the most powerful ring, in my opinion. And then you also get Dragon's Breath armor, which is definitely a great progression armor piece. And then you also have Angel Bow, which is a great progression weapon. So this is the best banner because of Bloody Grail, but you also get some nice little tools as well with that banner. And lastly, we've got the Reckoning Badge. This one I'm going to put in the A tier for really one particular reason, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. This one has a rare bonus of making your skills deal an extra 150% damage to targets with under 50% HP, and then the legendary and mythic effect essentially upgrade that. So the legendary effect is going to make you do instead 210% damage, and then the mythic bonus is going to make it so that you do 210% damage to targets under 70% HP instead. So first things first, I mentioned this earlier, most late game builds, end game builds are going to want double Bloody Grail or Bloody Grail plus Icy Bubble. The fact that that is the case, this definitely loses some luster. The Proof of Glory here, also, same thing applies to that, which is why it can't be higher than, you know, A tier at the most. The thing that Reckoning Badge offers you is that it is actually better than the Bloody Grail for PvP purposes. So you actually have a very, very niche specific spot, which the Reckoning Badge actually does more work because of the massive damage increase for PvP. That said, that's not a very convincing reason to go for it. Other builds may offer, the option to go with, Reckoning Badge instead of double Holy Grail or Bloody Grail because you have extra copies. But even then, I would recommend going Icy Bubble because that's going to provide additional survivability. I suppose if you don't need it and you have extra copies of Reckoning Badge, you can go with that. But again, if you're in PvE, then you probably want the double Bloody Grail. You can argue actually that these should both be in B tier. And I would be okay with that argument too, just because, again, Bloody Grail is so dominant that it really pushes these down. The Proof of Glory gives you that damage reduction, as I mentioned, which is nice. But usually Icy Bubble is going to be more effective in that category. The Reckoning Badge is on a relatively weak banner unless you're a hammer build. So that does give it bonus points towards the hammer builds. But being that it just does really well in PvP, whereas the Proof of Glory is only in specific spots where you need extra damage reduction, which again, Icy Bubble can essentially provide. I think that the Reckoning Badge does end up in A tier very, very narrowly. Okay, again, these ones are both significantly worse than the Bloody Grail, so it's really tough. This tier list is definitely the toughest of them all, in my opinion, because there's not like, okay, you use the Bloody Grail in the very early game and it's not on a great banner, but this is the best one for late game. It's, guys, Bloody Grail is on the best banner because you're paired with a great ring and a great piece of gear for progression. You have the best endgame viability. You want multiples of them, which means you have to summon on this banner, period. It's just like Bloody Grail changes the whole math of the whole thing. And that's going to wrap up our accessories, guys. As I said, I think if you made this argument, I would be totally fine either way, whether the Reckoning Badge or the Proof of Glory is ahead of each other. I think if you were to swap these two as well, I think that would be totally reasonable. I could definitely see arguments for all of those. But Icy Bubble and Bloody Grail are just the S tier ones. Like, these are the ones I would go with. Icy Bubble, just incredible progression element and a late game viable option. Bloody Grail, the biggest damage increase that you're going to get, and that's what you want. It's one of the reasons why I wouldn't go with the Vitality Amulet, nor would I go with the Frostwind Horn, mainly because the Icy Bubble is also a non-S, and you can just pick that up instead, and then you're going to want the Bloody Grail anyways. And I might be repeating myself a million times, but I just want to drive it home how important this accessory truly is and how important it is to summon on the banner just for this accessory, which changes the whole math of the whole thing. So that said, I think accessories are the most polarizing. Unlike like weapons or even rings, you have options where like certain rings are really good for some builds and then, maybe pretty bad or unusable for others. Think Skyflame Ring or even Dragon Ball Ring. Bloody Grail is ubiquitous. You need to use it for every single build, which makes it very, very much the one you have to summon for. And the same thing applies to weapons as to rings, is that a lot of weapons have different builds that are looking for different things and maybe have better banners, such as the ones that are on the Bloody Grail banner. But yeah, accessories definitely the most polarizing, simply because you have an excellent non-S one that's going to take care of the non-S ones, and then you have the best S rank one, which is going to be the real priority throughout the entire game. So basically, if you don't have double Bloody Grail in Mythic, that's when you're using another thing, because you'd rather have double Bloody Grail Mythics. Like, that's just what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd be really curious to see what people's opinions about the accessories are. I think this is the most boring part of the game, is the fact that Bloody Grail is so strong that that's just what people use. There's not really much build diversity in this. Whereas the rings, I feel like, I guess Judgment Ring is also in that kind of tier, but at least in Judgment Ring's case, most builds aren't asking you to go double Judgment Ring. There are some that do, which is how powerful that ring is, but it's not like Bloody Grail, which is like every build is like, yeah, you can just go double Bloody Grail and you'll be good. And if you want survivability, just drop that for Icy Bubble, which is a non-S rank one, which is crazy. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all for the next one.